After watching the series premiere of Manifest last week, I was kind of conflicted on whether or not I was going to be doing more videos on this series, reviewing and breaking down the episodes. After watching tonight's episode, episode 2, I've decided I'm definitely going to be doing that. I think Manifest is going to be one of those kind of shows that's great for doing this kind of thing because the mystery is just going to get crazier and crazier as the series progresses. And I think it's just going to be great to talk about it and break down each episode and theorize and that kind of stuff. So, if you're interested in seeing that and my coverage of Manifest, please subscribe for more. Now that we've got that out of the way, let's jump on into Season 1, Episode 2 of Manifest. This episode started us out with about 20 of the passengers being re-detained by the government after the plane just exploded out of nowhere. They basically trying to figure out if one of these passengers had something to do with the plane exploding, which they didn't really learn anything. They just kept them detained for, I think it was like 2 or 3 days. After the passengers were finally released, we saw them try the main characters, the Stone family, basically trying to reintegrate themselves back into daily life, even more so than in the first episode. Michaela trying to get back to work and get her detective's badge back. She had to jump through a few hoops to get it back. She had to get recertified with firearms, and she had to do a psych evaluation and stuff like that. Eventually, though, she did get reinstated. Ben, on the other hand, we found him trying to help a fellow passenger basically prove the innocence of the other passenger's son, who had been accused of robbing a jewelry store. It also showed a lot of him trying to reconnect with Olive, who is now 5.5 years older than when he disappeared, making her a teenager now. So he doesn't really know much about her, so he was really trying to make attempts to spend time with her and get to know who she is now compared to who he knew when he disappeared. As for when he was helping the other passenger, they did eventually prove that it wasn't the passenger's son that actually robbed the jewelry store. It was the son of the jewelry store, the owner of the jewelry store's son, that actually robbed the jewelry store. You can definitely tell from this episode, it seems like this show is going to have a procedural aspect to it. Obviously, there were like almost 200 passengers on the plane, and they're not going to be able to throw 200 passengers in and make every one of them the main character. So they're really trying to focus on the Stone family, and with a few others, like it seems like the doctor that's treating Cal for cancer. She's, I think, going to be more of a regular as well. She was in this episode. I don't know. We'll see. Once Cal's cancer issue is over, they may actually kind of phase her out a little bit. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But right now, it's really focusing mainly on the Stone family. Like I was saying, you can definitely see in this episode the procedural aspect that this show is going to have, where each episode they're going to bring in another one of the passengers and kind of tell their story a little bit, and probably having Michaela or Ben 1 kind of helping them, or even both of them, which they kind of did in this episode. It really took both of them to help the passenger in the end. And it was kind of cool how they intertwined Olive into the story actually in the very end of the episode, where she ended up taking Ben to the storage facility, and that was actually where he busted the jewelry store's owner's son with the jewelry that was stolen. So that was very cool how they kind of intertwined that. The episode also showed us a room of government agents talking and hashing it out on what could possibly have caused this. Some mentioning aliens, another one mentioning, I can't even remember what they mentioned, but I know one of them mentioned aliens, or maybe some kind of weapon. I think one of them mentioned that as well. Just a bunch of crazy things that sound crazy, but I mean, it's kind of a crazy situation, so maybe not so crazy after all. The 20 passengers they detained in the beginning of the episode after the plane exploded were kind of the ones they were going to put their focus on, thinking that there was a reason why those 20 were there. They must have had something to do with it, or know something about what happened to all of them for the 5.5 years they were missing. We also saw that the media was becoming very problematic for some of them, especially when Cal was walking down the street thinking he was some kind of, I can't even remember the words she was saying, but I know it was something like, he was reborn again or something like that. So she obviously thought that he's like some kind of second coming or something like that. So that was also talked about in the show a little bit. All these different religious groups and stuff kind of putting their opinion on what was going on and their interpretation of it. As for the weird connection that seems to be happening between all the passengers, and somehow they've changed since being back, they changed somehow. They're all kind of connected in a way. Ben was starting to hear music, and we're finding out that more and more of these passengers are having the same things, hearing voices or music or having some kind of strange feeling all of a sudden that they didn't really have before disappearing for 5.5 years. Without a doubt, the biggest moment, though, in my opinion, in this episode was at the very end, where one of the passengers was killed by some mysterious person. Earlier, the passenger had been shown on the news talking about what had happened and what her thoughts on the matter was. It also showed that she was being followed by this figure in the parking garage. It only showed us a shadow at that point. Earlier in this episode, Cal was shown drawing a family portrait, and in this family portrait he drew this shadowy figure behind the family, representing obviously this person. Now the question is who this person is and what is his motives for killing one of the passengers. Was this just something personal? Maybe somebody that she made angry before she went missing and they're trying to get revenge. It could also be that it's just somebody who doesn't feel like the passengers belong there. They were presumed dead, everybody thought they were dead, and now it kind of seems like they're miraculously back from the dead. And this person may just believe that that's not the natural order of things. They are not supposed to be here, they are not supposed to be alive, and I'm going to take care of that and recorrect this mistake. Overall, this episode was good. It continued the story from the first episode, showing the passengers a little bit more in their personal lives and kind of their struggles with trying to reintegrate into life and a lot of the people having been moved on. It also gave us a little bit more insight into the mystery a little bit, and it kind of created a new mystery for us, showing us that the passengers are not as safe as Ben thinks they are, as he told his wife Grace earlier in the episode. Will these passengers ever really truly be safe again when everybody knows their faces and what they've been through? Whether it be just people walking up to them on the street or breaking into their houses. I think this episode was good. It did have a few small problems here and there. Certain things were not as interesting as others, but it kind of definitely picked up there towards the end, and I'm definitely excited to see what's going to happen next week. So, what was your thoughts on this week's episode of Manifest? Let me know down in the comment section below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more content, please subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see everybody next time.